Well, hello everybody. This is More Fanime, and I am your fan of more anime, Mr. Morfetto. And today I will be reviewing the second half of the Fishman Island arc from the One Piece manga. And I gotta say, it's a fun ride. Is it my favorite arc in One Piece? No. Is it better than most great arcs in other manga and or anime? Yes. It is so plot driven, by the way, not necessarily driven by the villain or villains, because there are three major villains in this arc, and all three of them, in my opinion, are a little lackluster. Hody Jones being the best of the three, then followed by Vanderdecken, who was really one note. His shtick kinda got a little old, being obsessed with an underaged mermaid. And third is Caribou, the weirdo with the tongue and the squirrely eyes. I'm not a big fan of Caribou. He got old too. He has like the swamp fruit. He's out there capturing mermaids. He's out there just being a piece o' shiz. But they fulfilled their purposes. And of course, last, the fourth, if you want to call it, villains would be Hody Jones's crew, which also were kind of lackluster as side villains, but they all fulfilled their purpose, which I truly believe their purpose in this arc was to show off what the new abilities are for the Straw Hats. They spent 2 years training people, and I truly believe that if 2 years ago they took on the Hody Jones Pirates, I truly believe the Straw Hats would have won. If the Straw Hats somehow made it to Fishman Island before they all got split up by Bartholomew Kuma, and they made it to Fishman Island and all this stuff happened then, I really believe that they could have beaten Hody Jones then without the extra training. It would have been more of a challenge, for sure. Especially if Zoro was still injured as badly as he was when he was fighting the pacifistas after, you know, him getting his ass handed to him, sort of, at the Thriller Bark arc. Sorry, I needed to get a drink. Got myself a new beerski. Cracked open a cold one for the working man. I just got off work and I could not wait to review this arc, because then I can continue my journey into the new world. This is like the ultimate stopping point into the new world, and it's very exciting. I'm very excited, especially after seeing the crew's new abilities. But before we talk about those, the beginning of the second half, chapter, I believe, 629, Luffy and Jinbe have a little bit of a scuffle. I did think they were going to have more of a fight here. I'm glad they didn't, but I guess it would have made more sense if they did and got Luffy beat up and Jinbe beat up, because they're pretty strong. So then when they did go head toe-to-toe with Hody Jones, it would make more sense that he would be a challenge, because really, he wasn't much of one. He's very lucky that he had those illegal steroids that I'm very curious about, by the way. These pills that he was taking to get stronger, to, you know, equal the playing field, didn't, you know, seem strange to you? It just seemed weird. Where did these come from? I think they even mentioned that they don't know where these pills came from. Did Punk dude make them? I don't know. I really don't. I'm assuming they're from the 100-Year Void. Maybe they mentioned it and I just missed that line. But these pills, are they going to come into play later? Please comment down below. Let me know, unless it's a spoiler. I'm very curious about these pills. I could see them becoming useful to someone who can actually utilize them. They do have a major side effect, though. So unless you can remove that, they're kind of worthless. I do believe if Luffy had these pills, when he went toe-to-toe with the world government at Marineford, and it was his only option to save Ace, I truly believe Luffy would take those pills, regardless of the side effects, and he wouldn't regret it. He would take those pills, push himself to the limit, and save his brother, and then become an old man. But I'm getting a little far ahead of myself. So, Luffy and Jinbe go toe-to-toe. It's a pretty equal fight. Jinbe even says, hey, is this all the power you can muster after 2 years of training? I expected more. Obviously, Luffy wasn't bringing all his shiz. He was, just trying to get past Jinbe. Luffy wants to go beat up Hody Jones. But Jinbe makes a good point. He says, if you just go in there and beat up Hody and his crew, it's gonna look bad. People, the people of Fishman Island, the civilians, they're going to spread rumors. They're going to talk about how human pirates showed up and just beat up more fishmen that were trying to change their reality, trying to bring them to the surface or whatever, trying to start a revolution, and the humans came in and just put a stop to it once again. So I can understand where Jinbe's coming from. Jinbe is kind of a pacifist. He does not want to fight unless absolutely necessary. But before their fight even ends, before Luffy and Jinbe's fight even ends, we get to see Nico Robin's new ability, where she can literally create an entire Nico Robin, another Nico Robin. I don't know for how long. It seems very temporary, but she's able to create another Nico Robin, just like she can create those hands with her devil fruit. I can never remember the name of her devil fruit. I always want to call it like the bloom fruit, like flowers blooming. But she creates an entire another version of herself. How many of hers can she make? I really want to know. So far, one extra Nico Robin, but that's one extra best girl in the series, which I love because Nico Robin is the best female character in all of anime, in my opinion. But I was so hyped when I saw her create another version of herself, and then Sanji went in to quote-unquote save her, and she disappeared at the last minute, and then Sanji ended up taking punches from both Jinbe and Luffy, and it was rather funny. But yeah, she shows up after going on her mini quest, which is very important to deal with these poneglyphs and Joy Boy, and says, hey guys, let's stop fighting among each other. We got to take out this guy. We got to take out Hody Jones. Hody Jones pops up on the screen, I believe last half, and says, hey, I'm ready to fight. Let's go, 400 million berry Luffy. And now they come up with a plan. Jinbe gets caught on purpose, which when he got caught and they didn't know he got caught on purpose by Hody's men, I was like, I thought Jinbe was way stronger, and how did they capture him? Yes, it was on purpose. And they brought the shark, the pet shark, and the princess. I'm not sure if bringing the princess to the battlefield was the smart idea. I think it was just an accident. But Luffy was hiding within her pet shark and waiting for the right moment. Waiting for the moment that Jinbe, quote-unquote, needed help. I truly believe Jinbe, Sanji, Zoro, Luffy, any one of them could beat Hody Jones in a straight-up one-on-one fight with or without these steroids. I truly believe it. But letting Luffy come out of that shark, ready to fight, and then one by one, his crew shows up and backing him up because they all went to save. It was kind of off screen. I don't even remember it happening. Oh yeah, Brook shows off a new ability. He can now separate his soul from his body because he's the soul man Brook, and he can use his devil fruit better, just like Nico Robin can. And now he was able to get out of the cage and get help from the starfish guy. And they were able to free Zoro and Usopp It was funny because Sanji, quote unquote, went to save them, and he shows up. He's like, I saved the dumbasses that got captured. And Zoro's like, we were already leaving when you got there. It doesn't mean I didn't show up. It was pretty funny. The whole crew's there, standing there, and I can't wait to see this part in the anime. I'm sure it's dope, and I'm sure you're hearing the bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I'm sure that plays when they all pop up. Then Hody Jones decides to flex and shows out 100,000 pirate slaves that he's captured over the last few months, maybe years. And he's got these pirates that have been trying to make it to the New World, probably pretty weak pirates since he was able to capture them. And it was really sick because Zoro's like, so that's what, 10,000 apiece? If there's 100,000, there's 10 of us, including Jinbe. And then Luffy walks into the middle of them, confident as all heck, hits them with a Conqueror's Haki, and half of them down the middle go down. Because this Conqueror's Haki affects weak-minded people, just like with Shanks when he went onto Whitebeard's cruise ship and all the newbies all passed out. So he's able to knock out half of them. Honestly, if I was one of these pirate slaves, I would pretend like I got knocked out if I didn't. If I saw that, I'd be like, cool. Easy out. I'm just going to lay here and hope I don't get crushed by the battle. It was insane. Luffy is OP right now, at least in this fight. Luffy has learned some new shiz. He's got control of Conqueror's Haki. Last time we saw it, he had no idea he had it, and he used it to save Ace from getting his head cut off. And now he can use it at will. I don't know how many times. I'm not sure how exactly that works. Is there a limit? I don't know. But either way, the crew proceeds to beat the shit out of these jobbers, these weak pirates, the ones that were able to stand up to Luffy's Conqueror's Haki. I wouldn't have been surprised if Luffy could push a little bit more and they'd all go down. Then, Luffy and Hody Jones fight. Jinbe and Sanji fight Vanderdecken's giant monk Fishman, which falls from the sky because Vanderdecken decided to throw this ship called Noah at the princess. By the way, Vanderdecken's got this devil fruit ability where he can throw things at somebody he's touched and it will hit the target or hit something that's in the way of the target. So he throws this giant legendary ship that has something to do with the 100-Year Void, I believe. And it's pretty indestructible, and it's going to land on top of Fishman Island. But Princess Wimpy Yoshi decides to run away so the ship won't hit Fishman Island, and she goes up towards the sea, so it'll follow her, and it won't crush her people and destroy the bubble that's around Fishman Island, killing hundreds of fishmen, I guess. I'm not sure how it would kill them because they can all breathe underwater. I'm sure there's some logistics there I didn't catch. I would say my only issue with Luffy and Hody's fight is like he kept fighting underwater, sorta, kinda. I think he even created a fire fist. I think he called it Red Hawk, like underwater. I know Luffy's tough, but how are you creating fire underwater? Maybe I'm tripping. It was on the manga, so maybe he wasn't underwater, but it sure looked like he was still underwater. Hody Jones is eating all these steroids. He's getting ripped. He's insane. He's become a beast. He's unrecognizable. Another issue I had with this arc is it was driven by the hate that Arlong did to Hody Jones. If you look at Hody Jones's flashback, it shows Arlong telling them stories, Hody as a kid, and how fishermen are superior to humans, and it's like this hatred that gets passed down to generation to generation. I'm sure there was somebody telling Arlong when he was a kid how shitty humans are and how great fishermen were. I honestly at this point don't even think that Arlong ever truly was a slave. Maybe he was, but they never depicted that. It seems like he was just manipulated by the fishmen of the past. It's a cycle of hate, which was such a good plot point for this arc, which makes the whole backstory of Fishman Island, the backstory of Hody Jones and his crew, and the hate they have for the humans. And just the kids, they show panels of the kids watching the pirates, Luffy and the Straw Hats, save their city. They're like, well, all humans can't be bad, look at them. And they're breaking the cycle of hate. I love that part. I just wish, as a huge Arlong fan myself, I wish that Arlong was here. Because I know 2 years ago, he could have come to Fishman Island. He could have come to Fishman Island. He could have been in hiding with the Hody Jones gang in the Fishman district, like the ghetto of the Fishman area, and hiding with them and their thing. And they could have surprised everybody and had a real villain who everybody loves to hate. Arlong show up for round 2 with Luffy. Arlong, who I truly believe at this point was stronger when he was at Fishman Island. He was stronger when he worked with Fisher Tiger and he worked underneath Jinbe or with Jinbe. I think that Arlong might have gotten weaker after all those years messing with Nami's village. Dealing with weak East Blue humans. He was relaxing. He was chilling. He was in a weak sea. Fishman's strength alone is enough to handle it. No, he doesn't have hockey or anything, but maybe these 2 years of training he could have showed off some hockey. Maybe Arlong got a devil fruit. I don't know. I personally believe Arlong is the villain that put One Piece on the map. He is the villain that took One Piece from a good anime, a great anime, to an absolute legendary anime, and it hooked me, and I truly believe that Arlong deserves another opportunity at fighting Luffy, or an opportunity at possibly redemption, or maybe making... I think that Arlong did care for Nami, especially after his... but it is weird because he hated humans a lot. But he seemed to really respect Nami's navigation skills. I know he used her like a tool, but even during his arc, he seemed like he had issues like lying to her when he was like, you'll just steal the money from her so she can't pay you. He was like, nah, we're gonna, fuck it, let's do it. Like, he was kind of against lying to her. Like, he had a deal, like, give me 100,000 berries, 100 million berries, and your people go free. He was probably gonna commit to that, maybe. I don't know. I just think there's a story there. There's a story between Nami and Arlong that still needs to be told. He's still alive somewhere. I predict that he's actually on a Fishman slave camp for working for Celestial Dragons. Him and the rest of his crew, Chu and that Fishman karate guy. I feel like he is probably living his worst nightmare, having to serve the Celestial Dragons. And maybe down the line, I predict we'll see him, and he might have to get rescued by Nami. Who knows? Maybe he'll have redeemed himself from having to be a slave after having to suffer the same thing that he caused those humans to suffer at Nami's village. I don't know. But enough about Arlong. This is about Hody Jones and his crew. I think the funniest member of Hody Jones's crew, I think his name is Zio. He was all striped white and black. He fought Brook, I believe. There was a funny part where he was like headbutting Brook's foot, or at least that's what he was saying. Like, he would not admit defeat. It was pretty funny. Zoro took on the greatest swordsman in Fishman Island and wiped the floor with him. I truly believe out of all the Straw Hats, Zoro was one we didn't get to see even a fraction of his new abilities. Zoro barely broke a sweat. He thought, okay, I'll fight this guy. He'll keep me from being bored. And then he beat him so easily. This swordsman had no chance. And this is the best swordsman that Fishman Island's had for a long time. But yeah, Zoro has been training with Hawkeye Mihawk, who is probably insanely strong. So I can only imagine how strong Zoro is, and I truly cannot wait to see him take on a really strong swordsman down the line. Speaking of power-ups, though, we get to see Nico Robin once again pull out giant feet. She summons giant feet, so she can just summon now giant body parts to crush their opponents. Badass. We get to see Nami using her weather powers again, but they're better now. She can go invisible and stuff. I think she could do that before. At least she could do illusions, but I think she can like legitimately go invisible using the weather. She did go to weather Skypiea Island thing. And we get to see Usopp bust out some crazy green stars, at least that's what he calls them. And he has this one that summons like a wolf thing that attacks his opponent. Chopper got a shit ton of new forms. He has a new form where you can dig underground, which is pretty cool looking. I do not like how cute Chopper's being. I do miss the ruggedness. One of my favorite parts of Chopper from the pre-time skip was when he went all Monster Point and had zero control. It was interesting. It was unique. Now he can control Monster Point for 3 minutes. So, to me, it does seem a little weird that he was able to control that power. It's been 2 years, so it's understandable. To me, it would have been kind of cool to go on that journey with him, because I have figured at some point he'd control Monster Point. But I didn't think that he would be able to do it now. But now he can do it for 3 minutes now, and it's no problem. There was actually a really funny part where he goes into Monster Point, and Usopp's like, wait, Chopper, we don't even need you to do that. These guys aren't that dangerous. He is dissing these guys mid-fight. Brook is got like an ice sword now. Please comment down below and explain this sword to me. Is it a new sword? I think it's a new sword, or he's able to use his soul to make the sword icy now. So he's got some type of crazy ice abilities now, which is insane, and I'm here for it. Really cool. Brook has got some crazy abilities. How fast is Brook? I love it when Brook does his notch slash thing where he walks by his opponent and says, oh, I already cut you. And he closes the sword, very anime, swordsman-like. I love it. How fast is this guy? He's gotta be light speed. Then you have Sanji showing off that after 2 years of running away from the drag queens on Ivankov's island, he learned how to almost fly. He does the skywalk that the CP9 can do. He can now walk on air. Because he got cornered one day and he was like, I need to walk so fast that I go into the air. Which is insane. Zoro can't do that. I bet he could if he tried. But Zoro can't do it right now. So Sanji can fight mid-air now. He can go up into the sky with his running abilities. That's how strong those legs are now. Yeah, him and Jinbe take down the giant monk. Hody Jones basically stabs Vanderdecken in the gut with a trident because he didn't follow the plan and decided to throw a ship into Fishman Island, even though he liked that idea. Hody Jones keeps taking those pills, like I mentioned before, but still goes down thanks to Luffy. Luffy's got so many new abilities. It's hard to remember them all. He can do armament hockey. I believe he can do the visual hockey. Can't remember what it's called. Please comment down below. Then Conqueror's Hockey. I'm not sure how Conqueror's Hockey comes to play in battle with someone as strong as Hody Jones. But he's got that ability. But his biggest attack right now was Red Hawk, which is if he somehow lights his fist on fire and punches his opponent. And he's also got the Gum Gum Elephant Gun, which is insane. Luffy is just a beast in this arc, and he does take some damage because he's trying to help people, and he's fighting underwater with a bubble, barely having enough air to compete. So he's doing his very best. And in the end, when Vanderdecken gets knocked out by being stabbed in the gut with a trident, should have died, by the way. I feel like they should have just let that character die. There's nothing for Vanderdecken to do in the future. He has served his purpose. Honestly, they should have just let the dude die right then and there. Just my opinion. But he survives that stab, but the ship is still falling now to Fishman Island. Luffy's punching the crap out of the ship, barely able to break parts off of it. You can't stop the ship from coming down. But that's when Wimpyoshi, the giant princess mermaid, summons some Neptunes, gigantic sea creatures who pull the ship away from the island, save the day, and they're able to talk to her, and Luffy somewhat understands Neptunes. What? And I'm led to believe that Goldie Roger could understand Neptunes as well? What is going on, people? I know Luffy and Goldie Roger aren't related, except for the D part in there. They're not blood related. Like, how are they so connected? I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that Dragon and Goldie Roger are somehow blood related. I don't know. It's weird. Luffy seems to have these abilities that mimic Goldie Roger more than Ace. Luffy's a lucky guy, and I just don't understand how he's able to understand these creatures. He does tame the Kraken, by the way. Kraken shows up and helps them fight the giant monk and all the bad pirates, which is cool. So Luffy does have some kind of ability to talk to these creatures. I'm not sure if it's just the giant ones, or he could do that to every living creature. He did the same thing with Laboon. Yeah, which is insane. Laboon, all those arcs ago, when Luffy was dealing with Laboon and kind of talking to him, I was like, what is going on? I don't care. Now that I know more about Brook and whatnot, I do care about Laboon a little bit more. Don't hate me. But that whole arc felt like filler to me until now, when I realized it all makes sense. Luffy has always had this weird innate ability to communicate with these creatures, and I'd like to know more. So, Luffy and the crew, one by one, defeat their opponents. I forgot to mention Frankie's mech. Frankie created a giant mech suit, and he's able to combine and basically become the giant robot that he's always wanted to be, like in Thriller Bark arc. And he kicks ass, takes names. I gotta say that I think Frankie's new form is my least favorite. Him and Chopper. I don't like Chopper's hat, but out of the 2-year time skip, I think that Frankie's is just so bulky. I feel that I'll learn to love it. I do. I truly do. But I'm not a big fan of this mech Frankie form. Maybe I'll learn to love it, but it just seems crazy insane. I liked Frankie's pre-time skip form more. Please comment down below. Let me know. Do you guys like Frankie's pre-time skip look more, or his time skip form? I do kind of like the shaved head look that he had going on for a minute, but not this giant bulky shoulder things, even though they're probably full of weapons that'll become useful down the line. So they beat their opponents. Jinbe ends up giving blood to Luffy, even though it's illegal for fishmen to give blood to humans. But he's a pirate and he doesn't give a shiz. Everybody sees it happening and they're like, yeah, Luffy rules. Even the kids want straw hats because they think they're hero hats. It's pretty cool, pretty cute, pretty inspiring. I think that everybody should watch this arc because it does teach really legit lessons that people need to learn about judging people based on how they look. We all bleed the same blood, people. And then Luffy and the gang end up partying with the King Neptune and the Princess and a bunch of fish mermaids. I really love that Zoro and Frankie are drinking buddies during this party. After I saw them drinking in a panel together, it just makes sense. Frankie and Zoro should be beer drinking buddies. I just see it. Even though Zoro's this, strict swordsman, samurai guy, serious usually all the time, and Frankie's a little more loose, Speedo wearing cyborg man. I just see them being drinking buddies. And it makes sense. They'll drink brews together, they have different ideals, they have different things they love, but they like to chill out, drink some beers, and chit-chat about how life is cool. And Sanji's just loving life, being surrounded by mermaids. Same with Brooke. And it's all great. Everything's cool. Luffy gets to eat a bunch of Fishman candy, which comes into play later. We get to see what happened to Caribou, who ended up stealing all the treasure from Fishman Island's castle while the war was happening. But he got too greedy and decided to try and take the giant fish mermaid princess, who also turns out to be a weapon. Which is insane. Because Nico Robin went and talked to King Neptune about the weapon, Poseidon. Turns out that she is Poseidon, I believe, is what I got from the story. I could be wrong, but she is some kind of crazy weapon because she can control or talk to the Neptune creatures, the giant fish things, sea creatures. And he overhears that and knows that she's worth a ton of money. And somehow his brother and his crew survived, even though they should be dead. And he wants to take her to the surface and sell her for all the money he'll ever need. But before he can accomplish that, because she's gigantic, and before he can absorb her into his swampy ability, Luffy shows up, decks the dude, saves the day, but then Nami finds out the dude's got hella treasure. She asks the king, hey, is there a reward for getting the treasure back? He says, you know what? You get all that treasure back, you can have it all. What? She sends Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy out to get the treasure, which was really easy. They get the treasure, 3 giant bags of Fishman treasure, which is probably worth a shit ton. Probably more money than they got from Skypiea. And then we find out that there's like a bomb in that treasure, which is funny. But before Luffy and the gang can come back so they can take the bomb out of the treasure, they run into Big Mom's representatives, these 2 guys, one with really long legs, who's from the Long Leg tribe, and they're there, and a weird cat-like man. They're there to collect the candy for Big Mom, which is the reason they're allowed to use Big Mom as a protector of Fishman Island, like they did with Whitebeard, except Whitebeard never wanted shit in return. He just protected islands that needed protecting because he was a cool old man. And he believed in family and love and whatnot. But she wants a shit ton of candy. And she is insanely scary. I think she's a giant. She looks like a giant in the images I got to see of her in the darkness. But she is on the phone. Luffy takes the phone from them and says, I'm Luffy, I'm going to be king of the pirates. And she's like, what? And says, I ate your candy, don't get mad at the fishmen. Turns out the candy factory got destroyed, and he did eat some of their candy. But he claims that he ate all of her candy, because the fishermen need at least 2 weeks so they can make the candy supply for her this month. So, Luffy suggests that I got 3 bags of treasure from saving Fishman Island. You can have all of the treasure. I truly believe he should have just given him 2 bags of treasure so they could at least have some treasure so Luffy can buy meat with treasure. I don't think Luffy understands the fact that you can trade treasure for meat. I know he loves meat more than treasure and he doesn't care about money, but he needs to realize you need money to eat. But he gives them the treasure, so they forgive the situation. She was not for it, but I think she was impressed by his tenacity. I was. The fact that he was just like, I did this, and I'm going to make Fishman Island my territory someday, and someday I'm going to kick your butt, Big Mom. I love that. I loved all of that. I can't wait for their confrontation with Big Mom. And my prediction is it's next, because why not? They're setting it up here at Fishman Island. Big Mom is probably next. So they deal with that. Nami's pissed off because they gave away all the treasure, like I mentioned before. Should have saved a bag of treasure, Luffy. What are you thinking? You gotta remember, Nami's one of the only people on your crew that can actually hurt you. And she punches the crap out of him. I don't know why they didn't keep one bag of treasure. So yeah, that was cool. They end up hitting the road. Oh yeah, and then there's that bomb in the treasure that's going to end up probably blowing up in Big Mom's face, which is just going to piss her off. And it's all just a coincidence, but it's going to piss her off. She's going to assume that Luffy did it on purpose. I'm really interested to see where that goes. I can't believe we went through this whole arc without seeing any of the supernovas. I want to see Law and Kid and that long-armed music guy. There's a large amount of characters. Jewelry Bonnie, Blackbeard. Come on, there's so many major. The admirals. We find out that Okiji has left the Marines, because he was like fleet commander Marine, and then he ended up having to challenge his admiral fleet commander position against Akainu. I can never figure out how to say his name. But they go head to head at some point during the 2 years and fought, and for like 10 days Okiji lost and ended up leaving them. And Okiji always seems like a really chill dude. No pun intended. But Akainu's a total dick. Even Luffy remembers him because he killed his brother in front of him. That fight is going to be insane. But now this psychopath is in charge of all the Marines. What the hell? I want to know where CP9 is. If I remember correctly, they had a whole bunch of cover stories about them becoming pirates, basically. The group CP9, they kind of were hunted by the Marines because they failed. I don't know why, but they bounced and they were like, we're leaving and we're taking this ship, and they're basically pirates now, and I have a feeling we're going to see them again. They seem very important. If it wasn't for CP9, we probably wouldn't know about the original, armament hockey, the skywalk ability, all those things that are coming into play now that involve hockey kind of started with CP9. And after, arc and arcs and arcs since then, I really have grown to appreciate that entire group as a faction of great villains, and I can't wait to see them again, but 2 years later, stronger than ever. Kaku and Rob Lucci. Oh yeah, and Crocodile. I want to see Crocodile. Crocodile, one of my favorite characters now. Cannot wait to see this anti-hero kick ass and take names with Mr. One. Maybe he's built a new Baroque works. I don't know. I just don't know. There's so many new things to be found in the new world. And Luffy and the gang are on the way to the new world with very little money. So they need to first find some money. They need to avoid Smoker and his swordsman sidekick lady, who are just taking out pirates who pop out of Fishman Island. So somehow they need to avoid them. Maybe the first confrontation in the new world will be them versus Smoker and Tagashi. I cannot remember her name. I need to look it up. But maybe they fight them. Obviously, they're stronger than they were before. I'd love to see how Luffy handles Smoker. Last time Luffy and Smoker really went head-to-head back at Rogue Town, he stood zero chance against him. But now that he's got some hockey, who knows? Maybe Smoker's got some hockey now. I don't know. Shit is crazy, people. Hody Jones and his crew, and they end up becoming old men because after effects of the steroid pill, because you realize you can't just skip training, people. Shout out to Granola from Dragon Ball Super, who wished to be the strongest in the universe, and I hate him for that. You can't wish for power. You have to earn this. You have to work for it. You need to put the work in. If you just assume you can just take it by taking pills, you're never going to get by. You're going to see side effects like becoming an old man or dying. I mean, I'm surprised Hody Jones didn't die from the side effects. I think that since they killed Ace, death can happen more often. I know it doesn't happen all the time in One Piece, but they just went to war. I assume some people died in that fight. You have to. I mean, Zoro uses swords. I know sometimes he hits them with the back of the sword, but still. All in all, Fishman Island, I gotta give it a 7 out of 10. Mostly for the story. Villains weren't great. That's the only issue I had. The 3 villains. Caribou, Vanderdecken, Hody and his crew. Not great. I would have preferred to see Arlong in another fight with Luffy jacked up on steroids instead. Or something to that effect. I don't know. But the plot, the history of Fishman Island, the Fisher Tiger stuff with the little girl Koala, that shit was insanely emotional, insanely well written, and so real. And I loved that. The world building is insane in One Piece, and I absolutely love this story. I truly believe that One Piece is the greatest manga I have ever read. One of the greatest stories out there. One day I hope that this story is studied by scholars and taught in a college, because it's so well done, so well. There's so many things that get foreshadowed in the early chapters that are just now coming to fruition, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm going to go pop open another beer and relax, but I will talk to you guys later. Please subscribe. I'm trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2022.